Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the In Off the Post podcast. Yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 13th episode of the In Off the Post podcast. It's unlucky for some, but it's lucky for you. That's right, because today is the In Off the Post Awards, the first ever. We're going to be reflecting on 2017. As usual, I'm here with Ross Dawson.
Hello, everyone. We are back.
Indeed. Happy New Year as well.
Yeah,
to you and to you, Ross.
We are actually recording this on New Year's Day. In the evening, I just managed to watch United win 2-0 against Everton. So happy times.
I didn't watch my team win today, unfortunately. We blew a 1-0 lead against QPR. But we still climbed up a place, so up the diff. And I think, Ross, maybe we should talk a little bit about how this is going to play out.
Yes, so we have put together different categories for the In Off the Post Awards. So we'll take it category by category. We'll share picks, and then at the end we'll just run through all of them with hopefully a graphic on the screen so you can see who picked what. Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. 2017 was a very interesting year for football, and we'll certainly get into that, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and there will be polls up on Twitter if me and Ross pick the same thing, because we haven't actually shared with each other what our picks are. So this could be interesting. There could be a bit of a discussion. Just vote on the polls on Twitter, and I guess in the next episode we'll quickly reveal at the beginning who won. So I think it's time to get into the first award, for the first ever In Off the Post Awards, which is the goal of the year. Ross, hit me with your pick.
Okay, so I did quite a bit of research going into my goal of 2017, only to find out that the goals that I picked actually happened in 2016. So this is what
I did the same.
This is what happens when you go by the new FIFA's the best or the Ballon d'Or awards, because they go from season by season now, not by calendar year. So I looked at the Pushkas awards along with some other picks, and then I found out that they were all in 2016. So my goal of the year should be fresh on the memories of all of us. It's going to be Wayne Rooney's goal against West Ham in November of this season. Only a couple of weeks ago. It capped off a nice 4-0 win for Everton. Wayne Rooney picking up a hat-trick from this game. But it was a standard Joe Hart error to give the ball to Rooney. So he came out of his box, sort of made a sliding challenge to hoof it up into the other half, but Rooney was there, hit it on the first time, and it just glided perfectly into the goal from 60 yards out. And initially I didn't think that this goal did deserve the hype, because I'm very skeptical when it comes to goals that are from their own half and it is an open goal. But you can just tell that the technique from Rooney that went into this goal was just remarkable, and that's why it's my pick.
Fair enough. That was a very nice goal, in fairness. But I would argue that there was at least one goal this year better than that, and that was, in my opinion, Emre Can's goal for Liverpool against Watford. The bicycle kick from just inside his own half, his own box. If it had been inside his own half, you imagine that? It was a very run-of-the-mill game until Philippe Coutinho decided to launch a wayward aerial ball, and Emre Can, God knows what possessed him to pull off such an audacious move, but it worked. You could argue that it probably came off his toe, that he got a bit lucky, but it rifled into the top corner. Aurelio Gomez had absolutely no chance, and it was the best goal of the year, if you ask me. But going back to what was said earlier about the best and the Pushkas Award not really working. There was a goalkeeper whose name escapes my mind, who was from South Africa, and he was my pick up until I found out that was in 2016, and that was a bicycle kick from just outside the box. So, I think I stuck with the same theme.
Interesting. So our next award will go to the best football moment of the year. Plenty, like I said, 2017 was a very eventful year for football,
Mhm.
through transfers, through games, through moments, through off the pitch stuff. And I want to give a shout out quickly to Merthyr Town, who have recently paid off their tax bill. There's still some debt at the club, but through fundraising and fan donations, and well, it's mainly fan groups basically, have helped raise the funds to pay off the tax bill. But that isn't my moment of the year, but it is a very honourable mention. So shout out to everyone at Merthyr Town. You
It's a
obviously,
personal one for us because we were
yeah.
covering that story and we talked about it on the show quite a lot. So yeah, congratulations to them. And what is your moment of the year, Ross?
Well, my football moment of the year takes us back to the first half of the year, shall we say? Definitely in the last season, last like football season, so 2016, 2017, and mine is actually Barcelona's comeback in the Champions League against PSG to go through to the semi-finals.
As is mine.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Well, we can tackle this together then.
it was close for me between that and Neymar's transfer to Barcelona from Barcelona to PSG because I felt like that changed the way football will be as we know it. But I thought they were kind of one in the same.
Yeah, I
They're
guess.
both very similar stories in a way. But the first leg was on Valentine's Day. PSG beat Barcelona 4-0 at the Parc des Princes, and everyone thought, well, that was it. That was Barcelona dead and buried. However, if any team could do it, it would probably be Barcelona, and it was the biggest shock of the year by a big margin.
Definitely. I mean, this was also a Barcelona team that many considered to be in a slump of a season. Um, Obviously, they hadn't reached their heights, the usual heights last season, but as you rightly said, Barcelona went into the game at the new camp, being 4-0 down. So they managed to get it up to 6-5 on aggregate after winning 6-1 against PSG, which is mental in itself. Never
And
mind the
even
occasion.
even in the game, we thought, oh, there's no way this is going to happen. And then when we thought it was going to, PSG scored. And then we thought, oh, well, that's that then. There's no way. Because they were
Yeah.
going through on away goals. Then out of nowhere, Sergio Roberto, who Barcelona fans were rinsing at the time, why he was brought on at right back, we'll probably never know. But it worked out because he scored in the 90th minute and absolute scenes across the world. It was
Yeah. Well, after 50 minutes, Barcelona were comfortably ahead at 3-0 up, and everyone was like, okay, they're sort of bringing back the moral victory and stuff like that. But questions were raised whether they could spur on and perform a miracle in winning the town aggregate. But as you said, Cavani made it 3-1, so PSG had the away goal advantage, which we've heavily criticised on the show. Meaning that Barcelona will have to win to go through, not settle for a draw and take it to extra time. But 3 goals in the last 7 minutes, I think that was the main talking point from this.
Mhm.
5 minutes into extra time, so it was really edge of your seat stuff. I remember, I don't watch many just random fixtures in the Champions League purely for the fact, like mainly due to time constraints and stuff like that. But I managed to watch this game live, and thank God I did. It was an absolute Neymar masterclass. 2 goals and an assist. He really did spur his team forward in getting the win, the most unlikeliest of wins I've ever seen in my life. But yet he still decided to leave to join PSG. So there we go.
I feel like there was a talk in the boardroom amongst all the Middle Eastern conglomerates that own PSG, and they were thinking, there's only one way that we're going to stop Barcelona winning the Champions League, and that's by buying Neymar, because he was by far their best player on the day. There was a suspect penalty given, arguably David Luiz dived, but not David Luiz, sorry, Luis Suarez. That's what I'm talking about. I think it was fouled by David Luiz. But yeah, at the end of the day, that was what the referee gave, and that was my moment, and Ross's moment, and I suppose in off the posts moment of 2017.
Yes, so there won't be a poll on this moment, but maybe you guys can hit us up on Twitter. What was your favorite football moment of 2017? I'm sure people have different answers to us. But anyway, should we get into the next award, which is for the best transfer of the year. Now, this is a very interesting one because transfers can be very subjective in terms of whether it's a good transfer or not. I'm not including the Neymar deal to PSG even in my honourable mentions, actually, because while I do think they are signing one of the best players in the world, it's money, isn't it, really? £202 million estimated for that deal. But my honourable mentions are going to be, in fact, Mbappe to PSG, purely for the fact that PSG managed to fight off competition from elsewhere in Europe to lure Mbappe to a different club in the same league, which I thought was quite remarkable, given that Real Madrid, Man City were all heavily interested in Mbappe, and I think that he could have gone to Real Madrid, but Real Madrid are in for another striker who I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, I think Mbappe to PSG was a good signing. Also, Pickford to Everton. I think Pickford has been excellent for Everton so far this season. He's by far and away been their best player, I think, and having just watched him against Manchester United, he certainly saved Everton from conceding more than 2 goals. And then finally another keeper, Ederson to Man City. I thought that was an excellent signing, given that Manchester City did need a new goalkeeper because Claudio Bravo didn't live up to expectations. But have you got any...
And Joe Hart's Joe Hart.
Joe Hart's Joe Hart. But did you have any honourable mentions, or should we just get straight into our picks?
I didn't, because I was so sure of my pick that I thought I don't need any honourable mentions. No, do you want me to say mine, or do you want to go first?
You go for yours.
Mine is Mo Salah to Liverpool for £37 million.
Okay, interesting.
I feel like there were no signings in January, last January, that really made much of an impact, although it is hard for someone who joins a club late to make such a big impact. So that meant that I just looked at the summer, and no player who was signed in the summer has made as big an impact at their club other than Mohamed Salah. He has so far 17 goals in the Premier League, one behind Harry Kane, who up until this week wasn't really in the running for the Golden Boot, but he scored 6 goals in 3 days. He's just been unbelievable. When I watch him play, I immediately think of Lionel Messi. A lot of players have gone to the Serie A and gotten better, but I think with Mohamed Salah, it was a case of going from the Serie A to the Premier League, then going back to the Serie A, and then back to the Premier League, and somehow in that cluster of signings or transfers, he's just found a really good manager to promote what he's best at, and that's just running at defenses, using his low BMI to just run around defenses, run them ragged. And with that front four at Liverpool, I think he is probably the best.
Yeah, we in fact run a poll on the IOTP Twitter, I think a couple of weeks back, maybe 2 weeks ago, asking who was more crucial to the Liverpool team, Coutinho or Mo Salah, and the answer, or the result, was unanimous. Mo Salah is by far and away, according to you guys, the most crucial player at Liverpool at the moment, which I agree with. Mo Salah, he's been in impeccable form, and they only signed him for 37 million, which is mad. Anyway, my pick it's going to be one close to my heart. It's probably going to be a little bit biased, but my best transfer of 2017 is going to be Nemanja Matic to Manchester United.
Okay, that's a decent shout.
Now, as I mentioned before, there were other honourable mentions that I thought made great signings, but Nemanja Matic, he came in the summer for around £40 million, I believe, from Chelsea, from another Premier League rival, which it really baffles me, Chelsea's transfer business, because they don't seem to be afraid of letting their players go to rival teams and stuff like that. But anyway, he was a regular starter in the title-winning Chelsea side, forming a very efficient partnership with N'Golo Kante, if I say so, in midfield. He did start, I believe, around 35 games in total for Chelsea during that campaign, so people who were criticising him of being a bench player, frankly, you're wrong. But anyway, United was certainly lacking a defensive figure in midfield, despite Herrera having an excellent season the previous year, and they managed to land one of the league's best defensive midfielders for nearly £40 million, which was great business. But for me, while Nemanja Matic has his ability in his own. I mean, he's a great passer of the ball. He can strike a ball, as we've seen against Spurs in the FA Cup last year. I'm not sure if you remember his sublime strike against them in the semi-finals of the Cup. But
quick question: what was better, the goal or Kurt Zuma's reaction?
100% Kurt Zuma's reaction.
Totally.
But he is an accomplished passer of the ball with 88% success rate last season. But as I said, this, for me, the transfer has more to do with what it means for the rest of the United squad, because the big question has been whether Paul Pogba can reach the heights that he did at Juventus, and the key to that is him having a free roaming role, as many people have said. I'm not making any bold statements here, but Pogba is definitely better in a free roaming role. I mean, I just witnessed that he managed to grab 2 assists because Herrera and Matic were starting in midfield as well. So I think that having that figure for Manchester United to hold down the midfield and allow Pogba to roam forwards, get the passes, get the assists, because he has fantastic ability. I think that's, for me, makes it the best signing that United made this season, ahead of Lukaku, and the best signing of the year, in my opinion.
That's very well argued.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I find it hard to disagree, but I do think that Man United were a good team before Matic came, and Liverpool weren't.
Maybe Herrera can be Matic's Kante at United, because Herrera is a very box-to-box player. He can't create as many chances as Pogba, but he's got a great work rate. He can tackle, he can make passes, much like Kante. But I do think this will allow Pogba to flourish.
Do you remember the tweet before the Man United Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge that was going a bit viral after the game, because it said Ander Herrera and Kante, they're coming up, face to face for the first time since Kante's been considered one of the best in the world, but actually Ander Herrera is much better, and Herrera was sent off and Kante scored a worldie.
I do remember that, thank you. But then I also remember the other game where Herrera had Hazard in his pocket for the entire game. So there we go.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. That was Ross. That was definitely it, Ross. Anyway, I think this time we move on to the next award. Now, this is the Tom Daly Award that goes to the biggest flop of the year. Please, I named the award, so please just put the blame on me.
Much thought going into the namings of these awards over here
Absolutely
at the end
not.
of the Post podcast, but there we go.
There was hardly any effort, in fairness, because there's only about 5 of them that are named, and we've already missed one of them. the goal of the year was meant to be called the Wilhelm Award, but no, apparently I missed that when I said it, so blame me.
There you go.
You know now. So anyway, biggest flop of the year, Ross. Who is yours?
Well, I sort of made a cop-out, because when you initially think of flop of the year, you think of individual players. And, there are many players that I can think of that have been massive flops at their club, most notably Renato Sanchez. We've been relentless in slating him this season, and rightfully so. But
a lot of money as well. A lot of money going at that.
But I've actually nominated a whole team for my flop of the year. And it's not Everton, because I think they're doing well at the moment. But it is, in fact, AC Milan.
Okay. I really like your thinking there, because I've kind of gone down the same school of thought as I went for an actual player and didn't cop out. But he is an AC. You're welcome. Yeah, but he's an AC Milan player who moved from the summer, or to them in the summer. So tell me a bit why you think that AC Milan are the flop of the year.
Well, I don't really need to argue. You just need to look at the results and what they've done since. Well, I'm going to make my argument anyway. So it has been a very turbulent couple of years for AC Milan. They have failed to reach the heights that they were known for back in the heydays in like the mid-noughties, and even like 2012 when they had the likes of like Pato, Ibrahimovic, and Thiago Silva in their side. But they finished 6th in the Serie A last season, which isn't too bad. I mean, all good teams finish 6th in the league. But The Milan board then decided to pump money into recruitment in the summer, a lot of it, in fact, spending £210 million on 13 players. So you could literally make a whole new starting 11 and two substitutes with the amount of players that they brought in. Um, notable names: Ricardo Rodriguez from Wolfsburg, one of the biggest left back prospects in the world, as well as Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
Oh,
I
try and say
knew
that 5 times fast.
Hakan Çalhanoğlu, right? Yeah, from Leverkusen, as well as even Leonardo Bonucci, who's one of the best centre backs in the world, from rivals Juventus, which was the most. If we were doing an award for the most obscure transfer, that would for sure be my pick. But however, this season Milan have just gotten worse. They currently sit 11th in the Serie A with just 7 wins in 19 games, which is ridiculous. And in an attempt to save their season, Milan sacked manager Vincenzo Montella, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in November. And they replaced him with club legend Gennaro Gattuso, which I thought was a fun appointment. I love Gattuso. I think he's a great character.
Just Google his press conference for his unveiling, and yeah, that'll basically tell you everything you need to know about Gattuso. He's a very good character.
In fact, just Google every single press conference he's ever done. I mean, when he when he first joined the team, he was like, "The club needs passion." That was a quote from him, which I agree. If there's anyone who can judge a team or players on their passion, it can be Gattuso. I'll give him that. But in one of his latest press conferences, I think it emerged like a couple of days back. He was like, "Maybe I am the best, maybe I am the worst manager in the Italian league, but we still got to fight." And I was just like, the honesty in that. But Milan,
I think that. Sorry, the season epitomised when the boys Benevento, who finally won a game, shout out to them. I'm so happy. However, it does mean we have to cancel the lads' holiday that we had planned if they didn't win an entire game. However, big up to them. And in Gattuso's first game, they drew 2-2.
That's just
So
I'm not sure what's going on in that Milan team. Clearly, there's something going on behind the scenes, or that the players are not motivated, but there seems to be something going on. But Milan are still struggling, averaging just 1.38 points per game under Gattuso. So, I mean, at least they're getting a point a game. That's all I can say from this season. But we criticised Everton's flop at the beginning of the season, given that they're in the relegation zone. But for the amount of money that AC Milan have pumped into their side and the players that they've brought in, they should be doing better than 11th place with just 7 wins in 19 games for me.
absolutely true. And in fact, however, 37 million of that 200 whatever million they spent was on Andre Silva, who is actually my biggest flop of the year. So I guess we'll give this as a joint award. We won't bother making a poll for this. We'll kind of just say AC Milan, including Andre Silva, or especially Andre Silva.
Great minds think alike in that.
Absolutely, because he is a good player. Before this season, he scored something like 30-odd goals in all competitions last year while playing for Porto. He was a really hot prospect, or a hot property. People all across Europe were looking at him. Well, it turns out AC Milan were the only club willing to pay 40 million euros for him. As it happens, he has not scored a single goal in the league all year. However, in the Europa League, he has 6 goals in 6 games. Unfortunately, they're all absolute nobodies, their opponents, who I could probably score 6 goals in 6 games against. I think one of the games was that he scored a hat-trick. So I'll stop contradicting myself and go on to the fact that AC Milan are actually toying with the idea of loaning him out or selling him in January after just 6 months. I think that really says all.
That's mental, because he had a really good Confederations Cup campaign at the beginning of the year, and people were really tipping him to be the next big prospect. But
he's still 25 or 26, something like that. And
no, he's much younger than that, I believe.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think he's like 21, 22 or something like that.
Well, whilst I quickly Google this, I'll also just say that, I feel like he could do a job at any big club. I think it's just a big not conspiracy, but just like because players around him aren't playing well, he isn't either. And you could argue that all the best players should be able to carry a team, but yeah, I don't think he's that good. Certainly not
No.
yet.
Just to, he is actually, in fact, 22.
22.
22.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that now. Well, there we are then. So he's definitely got plenty of his career ahead of him. Would you take him at United?
No. No chance.
Well, you need a number 9 at the moment.
Do we? we got 2 number 9s on the wings, and also Lukaku and Ibrahimovic. I think I'm okay for now.
They're both injured.
Yeah, but Lukaku will be back next week. It's fine.
Fair enough. Anyway, on to the next award. It is the Breakout Star of 2017. This is an illustrious award that most people were looking forward to, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, just not true, is it? We'll move on. My pick for this is actually Kylian Mbappe.
Okay, hold that thought. I just want to give a quick mention to Joshua Kimmich. He's enjoyed a couple of seasons coming off the bench in midfield at Munich, but in the wake of Philipp Lahm's retirement, he's made the right back position his own, already starting as many games this season as in the Bundesliga as last season, so he's been great for them so far this season. But my pick is actually also Kylian Mbappe, because who else could it have been? Who knew who Kylian Mbappe was last year, and now he's moving to PSG for a supposed £166 million deal, so there we go.
I mean, it feels like ages since Kylian Mbappe burst onto the scene, but it was quite literally the beginning of 2017 when he broke onto the scene. He wasn't playing at the start of the 16-17 season, and then suddenly all of us in the second half, he's scoring in the Champions League. He's getting his first call up for the French national team, and he is the biggest prospect in world football at the moment. I also want to give a massive shout out to Ousmane Dembele, who I thought had almost as good a year, but he was more 2016 because that was when he, I forget, was it Rennes?
Rennes or someone like that.
The French team. That's when he really broke out.
And also shout out to Christian Pulisic staying on the Borussia Dortmund lines.
Yeah. And also that Philip Maximilian guy.
Yeah, who they've got now.
So what we're doing is we're giving the Breakout Star to Borussia Dortmund. No. Kylian Mbappe, who else would it be? And yeah, as Ross has already mentioned, he's now almost definitely going to PSG, who he's currently on loan at
loan.
For a ridiculous amount of money next year.
Open brackets loan.
Yeah, quote unquote. Right, I think we should move on. The next award is the Matthew McConaughey Award for Career Reinvention or Most Improved.
Yes.
Personally, that's my favourite one.
You really thought that one through, didn't you?
Absolutely not.
Quick honourable mentions. I just want to chuck in Dries Mertens from Napoli. He's the reason he's not my pick is because he's always been on the radar. He's always been a player that people have rated. I mean, he always started on the wing for Napoli, but since Higuain's departure, he's really made that number 9 spot his own. He's
always been good.
Yeah, exactly. But one player who hasn't been good is Paulinho, who's recently rejuvenated his career at Barcelona. People were criticising that at the start of the season because I think it was like £40 million they paid for him, but he's been starting every game for them more or less. And my last pick for honourable mention is going to be Jesse Lingard, because I'll stop you there, because the reason, if this was taking place a year from now and he was carrying on the form that he has done in the last couple of weeks, then for sure he'd be my pick. But if we're talking about most improved for the whole of 2017, not quite yet.
Well, he said stop me. I wondered if maybe you were looking at my monitor for a second, because Jesse Lingard is actually my most pick. I've slated him in the past, and I fully hold my hands up that he has proved me wrong this season. He's been a lot better, and he scored a lot of goals. I think initially when he started getting on this kind of good form, I was like, oh, that's typical Jesse Lingard scoring a goal even though he's playing poorly. But then on Match of the Day, I think it was, they were highlighting his movement. I was like, you know what, he's actually done really well here. I've said it before that he was in the Championship playing for Derby on loan, and everyone was like, "Oh, this kid is going to be good," and I saw nothing to suggest that he was going to be good. And this year is the first year I can genuinely say I've been impressed with something that Jesse Lingard's done, and he's been on the radar for about 2 or 3 years now.
Oh,
We can
way
have a
way more than that. He burst onto the scene for United in like 2012. He's
we
he's
can
he's in the same like bracket of academy players as like Ravel Morrison, Paul Pogba, and the likes of those. He's been through the United academy for a long time now, so it's been good
but
to
he
see him get
wasn't
the
really
success.
playing up until 2 or 3 years ago. Like I say,
No, no, no.
he was on loan in like, I think 2013. But I do want to point out that I still do not buy into the idea that he is a young prospect. He's 25. Grow up, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But no, yeah. Shout out to Jesse Lingard. He scored an absolute scorcher today against Everton as well. So he's been in great goal scoring form. He's got 10 in all competitions now, which is mental. Anything you'd like to add about Jesse Lingard before I go into my pick?
Don't make me eat my words, Jesse. Carry on balling.
There we go. He's going to be Millie rocking on all of the blocks in 2018, I'm sure. But
I think I did once tweet that he was a better dab merchant than he was a baller. So
there you go. The celebrations are now justified. But anyway, my pick for most improved player is actually going to be probably not a very original pick, but it's going to be Ciro Immobile from Lazio.
that's a really good one. He was on my radar. Him and
Yeah.
Paulinho, actually.
Yeah. But in 2013-14, it was Immobile's main breakout season for Torino as he netted 22 goals and 3 assists in 29 starts for Torino, which earned him, I can't remember if it was a loan move or an actual move to Dortmund, who eventually passed him on to Sevilla, who I knew that was a loan deal. And he only made 4 appearances for Sevilla as well, which is mental. But due to poor form, he eventually returned to Torino after his loan spell, but then moved to Lazio in summer 2016, where he has been on absolute fire. In his first season at Lazio last season, Immobile scored 23 goals and assisted 4 in 35 starts, and has carried that form into this season, scoring 16 goals and assisting 7 in 17 appearances for Lazio, so that's well over a contribution per game, and Lazio are doing quite well at the moment as well. I believe they're 3rd in the Serie A. The Serie A is really open this year as well. I'm really glad to... No, actually the 2nd, I believe. But anyway, second off, they're in the top 4, but it is really tight in Serie A at the moment, which is good to see. It's good to see Juventus not running away with it constantly.
And of course, Serie A's got Benevento. What more do you want?
Yeah, but Immobile is the 2nd highest scorer in the Serie A, behind only Mauro Icardi, who's been linked to a move away, as any player in form has been done. But he's also ahead of the likes of Gonzalo Higuain, Paulo Dybala, Dries Mertens, and last season's highest goal scorer, Edin Dzeko. So he is definitely a man in form, and I think he's doing great stuff at Lazio, and if anything, this proves that you should never move outside of the Serie A.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unless you're Mo Salah. Well, fair enough. I can't argue with any of those points. So let us know on Twitter. I think I'll actually put Paulinho in that poll as well, because I think that'll be quite a popular one. But either way, on to the club of the year, not to be confused with the team of the year, which will come a bit later. This is the club team that we think has had the best 2017. Ross, hit me with it.
Okay, so if you bear with me 1 second. Okay, so my pick is going to be probably not a unique one, actually. It's not going to be an obvious one either, I don't think. I think when people think of clubs of the year, they look at trophies and stuff like that and think, well, the main pick would obviously be probably Real Madrid, given the success that they've had. But I'm not looking at any of the major league winners, apart from my pick, who's actually going to be Monaco for club of the year. So they obviously won Ligue 1 last season, 8 points clear of PSG with 95 points. I mean, when was the last time you saw a points total like that in the Premier League? 30 wins in 38 games last season. Obviously, there's the famous Monaco side that saw the reinvention of Radamel Falcao and Fabinho, and brought names such as Thomas Lemar, Bernardo Silva, Benjamin Mendy, and most notably Kylian Mbappe, obviously, to a worldwide scale. However, this season, despite losing their key players such as Mbappe, Bernardo Silva, Mendy, and Bakayoko, and even Valère Germain, who's moved to Marseille, I believe, they still sit in second place, just 9 points behind PSG, and PSG are near unstoppable at the moment. To keep up with a team like that, and credit to I think Lyon or Marseille as well, who are actually keeping up as well. But I also think, well, they've as in terms of a club doing business, I think they've done the best business in 2017, hands down. They obviously let key players go, like I mentioned, but they've brought in solid names such as Jovetic, Keita Balde from Lazio. Keita Balde, and another worldwide wonder kid in Yuri Tielemans. I think they've definitely recruited well in terms of filling the holes that their key players last season left, and they're still keeping up with the big dogs. So big credit to Monaco. I think they've done absolutely great things in 2017, and I hope to see them move further into the spotlight and hopefully not do what Borussia Dortmund have done and sell off all the good players. But I'm sure I consider them on the same level as Borussia Dortmund now.
Interesting. I mean, and their exploits to the Champions to go unmissed. I think they knocked out Man City, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They did.
Yeah, and they were doing well. But and can't deny they've done an incredible job this year. However, I find it very hard to look past Real Madrid, which is why they're there. They are my pick.
Okay.
They've won the Champions League. They won the Club World Cup. They won La Liga. What else do you need? They also had the best player in the world, or the hashtag the best, whatever they're calling it now, in Cristiano Ronaldo. So their team, the individual players are getting accolades as well. They didn't really spend that much money, if I remember rightly.
No, not last summer, but they definitely will next summer, hands down.
Oh yeah, they're on an odd year, so it's an even numbered year. That's what I mean. So they'll bring in some Galactico. That's basically what they do.
We're well overdue a Galactico signing from Real Madrid.
But Incensio, I mean, out of nowhere, a former Real Madrid youth product who left and then came back because of a buyback clause has become, he's not the brightest young prospect in the world because that's Kylian Mbappe, obviously. But in terms of under 23s, there's no one around his level. He is quality, and he's even playing for the Spanish national team as well. So I think that kind of shows not only have they changed their ways in terms of just not throwing money at problems, they've also got a very good coach in Zinedine Zidane, who I think puts in a good shout for Manager of the Year, which is our next award. So you had Monaco, I had Real Madrid for Club of the Year,
but I haven't chose their manager for Manager of the Year.
Neither have I.
No, I thought I'd spice it up a little bit. My Manager of the Year, this manager has not won any silverware in 2017, but I still think that what he's done at his club has been absolutely fantastic, and it's going to be a podcast favourite, shall we say, of ours, and it is in fact Mauricio Pochettino.
You know, and I had two names. I had two names that I could not decide between. So I flipped a coin. Honestly, I flipped a coin to decide who I was going to get. And as it turned out, it worked out well for us because my coin flip went to Pep Guardiola rather than...
there we go. Well, I mean, it's a good thing that both of our picks are Premier League managers. That's really detrimental to how well the Premier League is in terms of quality at the moment, and it's great to see.
The Premier League has the best coaches in the world at the moment.
Oh yeah, hands down.
No doubt. I love Pep. I think that his style is unbelievable. He's gone and played fantastic football everywhere he's gone. However, one thing that he has done as well is spend a lot of money,
Mhm.
and it just although there are slightly people are inflating it a bit. I mean, people are quoting however much they've spent, and then adding in Benjamin Mendy's price tag in that. Well, he must have had a great impact in the 3 games he played, um, for them to warrant putting that in. However, and I'm going to slightly argue your point for you, but I won't go too far. Mauricio Pochettino, what he's done this year is turn Spurs into a Champions League competitor, which they've been on the verge of doing for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
but have not been able to do for under Villas-Boas or anybody really.
Well, no, in fact, before the season, I'd say Spurs' main highlight or main achievement in the Champions League was their performance in 2011 against Inter Milan, and that was partly due to Gareth Bale, so they couldn't really count that. But
Exactly.
now, as you say, they're contending in the Champions League. They top their group ahead of Real Madrid and even Borussia Dortmund, which is mental. When you look at that group, you don't think that Spurs are going to... Well, I didn't think Spurs were going to go through. I just thought they were going to finish in third, and it was going to be a real tight group. But they beat Madrid in Madrid, or they drew in Madrid, I'm not sure. But they beat Madrid at Wembley, which was important because that sort of turned their season around in turning Wembley into a place where they can turn up and play football, which I thought was very, very important. But moving on to Pochettino, he led Spurs to second in the Premier League last season. I believe that was their highest standing in the Premier League and in the Premier League era, in fact. But he has definitely built a squad that has competed in the Premier League more than any Spurs side I can remember in recent history, apart from maybe Gareth Bale's side in his last season. But I still think the team as a whole now is so much better than back then. He's established young players such as Dele Alli, Harry Kane and Eric Dyer, as well as making players who were already there significantly better, such as Toby Alderweireld, such as Christian Eriksen and Yang Vertonghen, and so many more. But finally, the thing that speaks the praises of Pochettino so much is the fact that he's done all of this, he's achieved all this, he's turned Spurs into one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Premier League at the moment, and one of the most competitive. I think he's done it all with a significantly lower spending budget than other English teams. We were talking about at the beginning of the season that I think the highest paid player at Spurs was 100 or like 100 grand or something like that, which is like often like a quarter of what some players get at high levels, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the key to their success will obviously be keeping Harry Kane, and then they really need to push the boat out and making sure that he stays and drags Spurs to the top, to the very heights, because I do believe that if they keep doing what they're doing at the moment, in the next 2 or 3 years they will for sure win the Premier League. And that's why Mauricio Pochettino is my pick for Manager of the Year.
That's really well argued, but you can't deny that despite throwing money at the issue, the difference in Man City this year and Man City last year is astronomical.
That's why I didn't choose Pep Guardiola, is because he's only been doing it for this season and not last season.
I think that's what really warrants it to be. I mean, they were by no means a bad team.
There's two different ways you can look at it. I understand why you picked him, but
by no means were they a bad team last year. They looked, quite good. They made it to, I think, the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and didn't really come within winning the Premier League at all. Finishing, I believe, third. I want to say third.
Last season in the Premier League, third.
Yeah. So, absolutely, there is a case to be made that they haven't been doing good all year, but I'd also say that they have been not only the best team in the league this year, the best team ever in the Premier League, at least for now. The best team in terms of form. The stats don't lie.
Yeah, but
you can't drawing 2 games.
You can't say that when there's 5 months left of a season to play and they haven't won any trophies yet. I mean, when you look at the best teams in the Premier League's history, you think of United's treble-winning team, or even the 2008 team, like the Arsenal Invincibles, the Chelsea team of 2004, 2005, they all very decorated, and I'm sure Manchester City will win some trophies this season. The Premier League is more or less a lock now, but I think you can't make those statements of them being the best side ever in the Premier League until the end of the season, I believe. In terms of quality, if you played if you played the City side now against like the older sides, like if you play them like against each other right now, I think Man City would definitely at least get a draw. But for me, you can't say that they're the best team ever at this stage in the season. By all means, come the end of May when the final games have been played, and I'm more than willing to call them that.
Well, we'll fight it out in the polls.
We will.
Make sure to vote on our Twitter. When this video goes live, that is when these polls will go up, so they should be, as you're listening to this, there to vote. Right, now it's time for the big one. This is the Ali Dyer Award for Player of the Year. The best, without a doubt, the number one player of 2017. Ross, is there any doubt that it's Cristiano Ronaldo?
Not at all, in my eyes.
There we are.
I didn't even write any notes on this because it more or less speaks for itself. He won the Ballon d'Or. He won the FIFA the best. He's won everything there is to win at Madrid at the moment, and he's the player who's had the best 2017. And while right now I wouldn't call him the best player in the world, he is definitely the best player of 2017 in my eyes.
Yep, I mean, there's nought to complain about. He won the league, he won everything there is to win almost, and got the best player in the world from the two most prestigious places, and three now. Well, I think I say, it's FIFA, then it's the Ballon d'Or, then us. We're right up there. So
there we go.
Congrats, Cristiano, and he got an airport named after him and an awful statue. So
Cristiano, you'll get your In Off the Post award in the post shortly. Just DM us. Make sure we get the address right.
Yeah, fly us out. Well, I'll give it to you personally, like Jake Paul giving Post Malone merch. That's a meta joke. No one's going to understand that.
Yeah, for sure. Best player of 2017, Cristiano Ronaldo. No arguments at all.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I suppose in typical Ballon d'Or or the best fashion, after giving this award, I think it's time we talked about the team of the year.
Mm-hmm. Now this is going to probably spur the most debate.
I think so too.
Okay.
It's going to be a hard one to put into a poll, but
we'll take it bit by bit.
Yeah.
We'll do it goalkeeper, defense, midfield, and attackers. So we'll do it that way, just so it's all fun to trade off each other, and it'll break it up a little bit more. So yeah.
So hit me with your back five. I assume we both went for 4-3-3 like normally.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we established was the fixed formation as always in the Ballon d'Or. So we did stick with a 4-3-3. I'm gonna stick with my goalkeeper first before we'll trade off goalkeepers first, but
okay.
Actually, you go with yours first because I feel like mine's gonna be controversial.
Okay. Well, I've gone for Gigi Buffon.
Okay.
Is yours not Gigi?
It is not.
Who is it then?
Mine is in fact David De Gea.
Oh God, no! What? No! How? I can't believe you've done this.
I mean, if we're going by this, the way I thought there was two ways you could look at it. There's a goalkeeper who is either the most decorated of the year, who's been a goalkeeper in the best side of the year. So on paper, you could have gone for like Keylor Navas or Gigi Buffon or someone like that. But by my logic, and purely for the fact that I've watched De Gea more than other goalkeepers, he is comfortably the second best goalkeeper in the world. Maybe even higher, arguably. Some would argue. I wouldn't argue that. But given that Neuer has been out a lot this year through injury, I think this makes him the best goalkeeper in the world in 2017, and that's the key bit there, in 2017. I think that David De Gea is the best goalkeeper in the world, and that's based on individual performances alone. I mean, United have had a rocky. It was a very rocky 2016, 2017 because while we did win two trophies and a Community Shield, we did finish in sixth place, but he has been so crucial, and his individual performances have proved that, in my eyes, he's one of the best United goalkeepers I've seen. And I just think that in 2017 he was the best goalkeeper in the world. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad you apologise because it is okay to be wrong. I can't see it. I mean, the only two I would say that are close to getting this would be Navas or Buffon, and Buffon arguably had the better defense in front of him, but he's just he's just better than Navas, and he didn't deserve what happened in the Italian national
No,
team.
no.
But I didn't see Costa Rica doing anything amazing this year. I just thought that if there was going to be any one player in that Juventus team that you could say they were the standout player, it was Gigi Buffon, and he's 38 next year. He's by no means, or this year actually, he's by no means the young player who used to play for Parma anymore. And I just fully rate the fact that he's still going at such a high level, because this is going to be his last year in professional football. So I also think it's slightly sentimental in the sense that, look, give him the award because he won't be able to win it later on. Big fan of GG.
Yeah, I think it's quite sad as well because I do believe that he has another year or so in him. I mean, 38. I mean, considering he's a goalkeeper of his standards, I think he could go for another season definitely. When you think of the likes of like Van der Sar and people like that who have stayed quite long in their career, I will be upset when Gigi Buffon retires at the end of the season, and I am really upset with the fact that he stayed on. He stayed for another year because he was going to retire last year, wasn't he? But Juventus didn't win the Champions League, and now Italy are not going to the World Cup either. So it's really sad. It's really sad to see because I would have loved for him to win the Champions League, maybe get a Ballon d'Or, go to the World Cup with Italy, and just stick at it for another season. But there we go. That's football.
Absolutely. Well, he has announced that he'll be retiring, so all the best to GG, and I hope that you do stay another year. What is your defense? Because I feel like this is where we're gonna have a few similarities.
Yeah, I think the defense is more or less locked for me. I did throw about a couple of names. Part of me wanted to include Philip Lahm for pure sentiment because he was a player who retired at the end of last season, and I do think that he was the best right back in the world when he was playing over Dani Alves, I'd say. But my back four is going to be the standard. It's going to be the one we saw in the team of the year actually. It's Dani Alves and Marcelo at full backs, and then Sergio Ramos and Bonucci at centre backs. I don't think there's any arguing that any player on that list deserves to be there.
Mine is
Alves,
exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Alves has done it both at Juventus and PSG this year. Marcelo's the best left back in the world. Sergio Ramos, for me, is the best centre back in the world, and I think Bonucci is certainly up there as well. He's had a really great 2017 before he joined AC Milan.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing would be, I think, only player who would be on the chopping board would be Bonucci, but I don't think it's his fault that AC Milan have done so
No,
poorly.
and I can't think of any centre-backs that would take him over in that list apart from maybe Chiellini.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, we'll go on to the midfield now. Who have you got in your midfield?
That's a good question. I looked at the midfield that was in the the official team of the year, and I agreed with Modric and Kroos, so I've got both of them.
As have I, so we don't need to talk about those two.
No, but as we mentioned when we did a video on the official announcement, we both had a problem with Iniesta.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the only player who would come close to putting it, and I did kind of think maybe if they would actually play this team, they would be sitting back, Kroos and Modric. Who would be going in front of them? None other than KDB, Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay, that's fair. I'll be honest, that was a name that I didn't think of purely because um I'm just not sure. He's been he's the best player in the Premier League at the moment. But like my argument with Man City not being Club of the Year or Pep Guardiola not being Manager of the Year, I just think they had an above average early or end to 2016 2017, shall we say, and that's why Kevin De Bruyne is not my midfielder. My midfielder is in fact a name that I did mention when we discussed the announcement of the starting 11. My final midfielder is actually Thiago Alcantara, but you talk about Kevin De Bruyne first.
Okay. Well, he got I think 18 assists in the Premier League, or in the league this year, which is the highest in the league, and only one other player in the top 4 tiers in England got more than him, and that was Maddison, I believe. So I'm not putting Maddison in my team. He this season has been incredible, but even last season he was still Man City's best player, their most consistent performer. There's no doubt in my mind he is the best player in the Premier League at the moment. And if you're going to make up an 11 of not only the best players of 2017, but the best players in the world at the moment, I mean, he would go straight in my team. So I didn't think there was any way that I couldn't put him in. So even if there was a player in the official team of the year that I agreed with that they were a great player, had a great 2017, I think I would still try and find a way to get KDB into this team.
No, and I can fully understand why he is in your team. I'm just going to make a quick argument for Thiago Alcantara. He was actually a name in the running for breakout player, but I thought that was more of a 2016 thing than 2017.
Big fan of his, I will admit, honestly.
Yeah. But he did only get 6 goals and 5 assists in the Bundesliga last season, but he was playing a much deeper role. But he did have a passing accuracy of 90.2%, which is quite ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, he's got more to his game than just goals.
He's such a skillful midfielder as well. He's got great ability on the ball, and he's become a very paramount figure in Bayern's midfield. And even amidst talks of Arturo Vidal potentially leaving Munich, I don't think Bayern fans are really concerned due to Thiago's success, as well as being linked to Leon Goretzka and stuff like that, or Emre Can. But I think that Thiago does definitely secure he's one of the first names on the team sheet for me, for Bayern Munich.
He's so important. He was important to Ancelotti's team, but also to Pep Guardiola's. And I think that there's only one player genuinely at the moment who could improve Man City in the midfield, and that would be Thiago Alcantara.
Yeah, he would for sure be the perfect replacement for David Silva if he did choose to leave.
Or even Fernandinho, but I don't think Fernandinho has done anything wrong this year. Warrant being sold. I think he's probably one of my most surprising players. Fernandinho.
Yeah, for sure. Fernandinho
didn't think he could keep up with that kind of team. Anyway, the attack. Now this is going to be an interesting one, I believe. There's no doubt that we've both got Ronaldo in there because
for sure.
We'd be.
And I think we can get Messi out the way as well. Top 2 players in the world at the moment. They can go right on the starting 11.
And just Messi had an incredible year, just not with Barcelona, just scoring his goals individually, and he's the top goal scorer at the moment in the league. So who have you got at number 10?
Well, I'm gonna do the teasy thing of having a build up a sec. So I think in the official team of the year, was it Neymar or Suarez?
It was Neymar.
Okay, so out of Neymar or Suarez, that would be the player that I would choose out of the 2. But I haven't chosen either of them, and I know what you're thinking. I haven't chosen Lewandowski either. I haven't chosen Karim Benzema, Aguero, anyone like that.
Neither have I. This is getting really weird.
But the player I have in fact chosen, and people can come at for this, but I think I chose Harry Kane.
So have I. Yeah. No, we talk so much about him on the show, but he genuinely has been the best striker in the world this year.
There is no striker that has had a better 2017 than Harry Kane, for sure.
No.
And he, at the moment, he is, well, by that logic, he's the best striker in the world for me, which I think he is on form, and he's at the very least in the top three. And the only players that compete against him in that regard would be Lewandowski and Suarez.
And
But
they didn't have amazing years.
no, they didn't. Well, I mean, Lewandowski was more or less a walk in the park for him as is any other season for him at Bayern Munich. I mean, it's Lewandowski at Bayern Munich. You know, he's going to score at least 25 goals a season.
Yeah, but I don't even think he was top goal scorer. I think it was Aubameyang, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. But Harry Kane, a person who was the highest goal scorer in the league was Harry Kane for the last 2 seasons, and as you said earlier, he is now having scored 2 hat-tricks in 1 week, which is ridiculous. But I do think we called it quite early on in the season when we first started this podcast that Harry Kane is certainly a player that people need to take seriously, and for me he is at that level now where he can walk into almost any team in the world and perform. But he does need to stay at Spurs, in my opinion. And we've seen rumours that Real Madrid are looking to go in for him with a Bale exchange deal. But I think Spurs would be stupid to do that. He is, for me, the best striker in the world and one of the best strikers that England have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And also, he's the first player to score back-to-back hat-tricks in back-to-back games twice in Premier League history. You know, look at some of the players that have come and gone through the Premier League. You think that can't be true, but it is. It just goes to show how good of 2017 he has had, beating Alan Shearer's record, and also not scoring for the month of August and hardly playing in January. So he genuinely could have had a lot more goals.
Mm-hmm. How many total goals is he on for the year now? It's got to be approaching 50.
I think it was 56,
Yeah.
57.
I saw some graphics like compared to like Messi and stuff like that, and the numbers were scarily similar. So for a striker to score the most goals in a calendar year in the Premier League ever, how can that player not be in our 11 of the year?
If it was Lewandowski, then we would be putting him in the team. If it was anyone else, any other striker, we'd be putting him in the team. I feel like there is just stigma against either Spurs or Harry Kane that because he's
English players, English
he can't
players.
go into this team. But no, without a shadow of a doubt, he's been the best striker in the world.
Yeah, so should we give a quick run through of our starting 11s again, just so people get a grasp of our teams?
So in goals, I have Buffon, right back Dani Alves, and left back Marcelo. The 2 centre backs are Ramos and Bonucci. In the midfield 3 is Modric, Kroos, and Kevin De Bruyne, and up front it's Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and Harry Kane.
And for me, in goal, I've got David De Gea, come at me, Dani Alves and Marcelo, full-backs, with Bonucci and Ramos as well at centre-back. Toni Kroos and Modric in my midfield as well, with Thiago Alcantara, and then Messi, Ronaldo, and Harry Kane as my front 3.
That is a good team.
It is a very good team.
Anyway, right, well, that is almost everything that we've got planned, but we do have one more award. This is the award best thing to look out for in 2018, sponsored by your mate with a fade haircut. Trust me, mate, this kid's going to have a big 2018. That's, I guess, what you would say. But fully, we thought we were going to end this year or end this video with talking about looking forward to 2018 and who is the team or the player who we think is going to have a big 2018. Who do we think is going to have, maybe this time next year we'll be talking about them in one of the awards for maybe Breakout Star or however, or whatever you think. So Ross, as this is kind of award for an ambiguous thing, what thing have you given the award to?
shout out to my honourable mention for keeping an eye out in 2018, which is Man City probably winning everything. But for me, I've gone a little bit closer to home, and for me to keep an eye on 2018 is the Welsh national team's next chapter. And I think that will be a fun story for us to follow over the course of the next year. Obviously, our boy Chris Coleman stepping down in his role towards the end of last year. It's weird saying last year now. But anyway, towards the end of 2017. And they are yet to appoint another manager, despite Mark Hughes probably going to get the sack by the end of the week. But they are yet to find another manager, so it'll be fun to see who will get that job. But then also seeing how the players do under that job, and hopefully seeing young talent come through and establish their roles in the starting 11 for me. When I went to the Panama game, as you may know, but it was a heavily youthful team that they put out, and there were some great passages of play. I mean, Ethan Ampadu was quality that game, and while Ben Woodburn, I think we hold him in high regards. I do think he had quite an off game, but Brooks had a really good game as well, and a lot of the young players at Wales. And I'm looking forward to seeing who they get to take charge of that team and take them to the next step. Because hopefully, Gareth Bale's getting into that stage now where he's got to serve the Ryan Giggs role. He didn't really play much for Wales, but being that more experienced figure and the name that the younger players will look up to carry them forward and lead them, because he has to be captain. But yeah, that's my thing to keep an eye out for in 2018. Just seeing what's next for the Wales national team.
Fair enough. And mine is, you actually already mentioned it. How are Man City going to do next year? Are they going to win the league, be the second invincible team? Are they going to win the Champions League? Are they going to do a quadruple and just sweep the league? I think that they could. They got a better chance of any other team than doing it. So I think that we should all sit back and in awe, even if you don't like Man City as a United fan maybe, and just appreciate that this team is very special and that we will not see a team like it for a very long time. So that's what I think we need to look out for in 2018. And having said that, that concludes the 2017 awards, and 2017 is now behind us. We look forward to 2018. I think just before we sign everything off, thank you so much for everyone who's listening to this now or has listened to a show in the past who has helped make this show as fun for us to make, and also to put it on the pedestal that it is. We've still got a long way to go, and we hope that 2018 is going to be a big year for us.
We've got big plans for In Off the Post in the future. Hopefully you can keep an eye out for that.
So make sure to follow us on Twitter at IOTP blog, especially to vote for the awards that you've just watched. Otherwise, what's the point? And just, thank you again. Follow me at DanBevJourno.
And follow me at @Ardos_. And one last thing, we never usually plug the iTunes, but if you do have an iPhone and you do want to take us on the go, if you just go into the podcasts app and search us In Off the Post podcast, you can download us from there, so you can take us on the go. And if you would leave us a star rating as well, that would be greatly appreciated, because we do value your feedback, just to throw that in there.
Even if you tell us that you hate the show, then at least we know that somebody is there. But the one last thing quickly. Congrats to Will and Dan for winning that game of PUBG that I was just talking to them about. They wanted a quick shout out, so there you are, boys. And yeah, I can't say thank you enough, so I'm not going to. Thank you very much for watching. Ta-ra.